It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog.
Organs. We need them to survive. They're in me, you, and even you.
Me too?
Yeah, you too. But unfortunately for some of us, organs fail. And with a failing vital organ in your body, chances of survival are, well, zero. So, what actions can we take to aid people with a failing vital organ?
I don't know.
Well, there is one process we can use, and that is organ transplantation. Organ transplantation. Come on, let's head over to the lab and I'll show you how it works.
Welcome to the Science Lab.
So what exactly is an organ transplant? Well, think about it like this. Let's say my pen was out of ink. What would I do? Well, I would just replace it with another pen.
Duh.
And guess what? It's the same idea with organs. If I have one organ and it fails, well, I'm going to have to replace it. And the process of replacing one organ with another is called...
Organ transplantation?
Correct. But it isn't as simple as it may seem. Organ transplantation is an incredibly risky and expensive and time-consuming process. And only the highest level surgeons are allowed to participate in an organ transplant operation. I'll show you how it works.
The process of an organ transplant.
Step 1.
First, the patient is notified that their organ has failed. The doctor decides that the patient needs a transplant to survive, and the patient is tested at a transplant center.
Step 2.
The patient must now wait for their organ. Depending on how badly they need the transplant, this wait can be from a few days to even a few years.
Step 3.
This step, the hospital contacts the transplant centers to find out if they have an organ that will be suitable for their patient. They arrange a date and they let them know when the transplant's going to be and when the organ has to come to be delivered to the hospital and all that administrative stuff.
Step 4.
This is the big day for both the patient and the surgeon. The surgeon receives the donated organ and is ready to begin the transplant while the patient lies in bed, nervous about the operation. The surgeon must start the operation a few hours after the donated organ arrives in order to be successful. The operation takes between 3 to 8 hours depending on what organ is being transplanted. For example, a heart or both lung transplants are going to take, well, they can take up to 8 hours, from 6 to 8 hours we can say. Although smaller organs such as livers or parts of the lungs can take they do take a lot less time, and that is from around 3 to 4 hours these transplants take. And that's mainly because heart and double lung transplants are a lot more complicated and complex than just smaller organs such as the liver and parts of the lungs.
Step 5.
The transplant has finally been successful, so the patient now must remain in the hospital for the next 1 to 2 weeks. In most cases, what happens is the patient can live a normal life, except they must take special medication and have regular checkups for the rest of their lives.
La 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 la.
Did you know? More than 1,800 people are waiting for an organ transplant at the same time in Canada. But since there are not enough organ donors, up to 30% of these people in need of a solid organ transplant die on the waiting list. Now you know! This looks like a good site. Let's check this out. Organ donors. Yeah, this looks good. Oi, I didn't see you there. I was just doing some awesome research about organ donors. You know, the awesome people who donate their organs to others who are in desperate need of one. Yeah, well, unfortunately, not everyone can be an organ donor. Come on, let's head over to the lab and I'll show you how it works. Come on. Basically, there are two types of donors, living and cadavers. A living donor is someone who can donate their organ while continuing to live a normal life. A cadaverous donor, on the other hand, is completely different. Accepted cadaverous donors are brain dead, but are still on life support. What this means is that they are pretty much dead, but their organs are still functioning perfectly, which means they can donate their organs. The huge difference between the two is cadaverous donors can donate organs that the body cannot live without. Here you have a list of some of the organs that can be transplanted. Now, as you can see, all of the organs that can be transplanted under the living donors section are also under the cadaverous section. And the reason for this is cadaverous donors are about to die, although their organs continue to function properly, which means these organs can be transplanted. So anything that can be transplanted from a living organ can also be transplanted from a cadaverous donor. So far we've talked about what an organ transplant is, the process that the surgeon and the patient have to go through during the operation, and the two different types of organ donors, which are living and cadaverous. So now I wanted to go over what the process of finding the right organ is. So when surgeons and doctors look at an organ to find for the patient, they're looking for two things. They're looking for blood type match and a size match. Now when I say blood type match, this is what I mean. The human body, everyone has 1 out of 4 different blood types. You either have an A blood type, a B blood type, an AB blood type, or an O blood type. Now, people with an O blood type are able to donate their organs to all the other different type of blood types. People with an A blood type can only donate their organs to people with an A blood type or an AB blood type. Now if you go to blood type B, people can only donate their blood types to B or AB, and blood type AB can only donate to other people who have the same blood type, which is AB. Now, I said how people with blood type O can donate their organs to everyone, but they cannot receive from everyone. Blood type O people can only receive an organ from other people with blood type O. So the other thing that the surgeons are looking for is size. For example, if I had a heart transplant, I needed another heart, they would remove my heart. If I received the heart that is too big, then it wouldn't fit inside my body. Or if I received the heart that is too small, then it wouldn't be big enough to provide to do the functions that the heart has to do for my body.
Huh? What's this? This can't be too good for the organs. Ouch.
So before we move on to our next topic, I thought it would be pretty cool to interview my close friend David Majori, who had a heart transplant at the age of 13. Now this interview is over Skype, so you won't be seeing our faces, but some pictures will be going across the screen so you could look at the pictures and listen in on our voices to get the information that he gives to us. So listen in. So Dave, what led you to leading the heart transplant to begin with?
Well, as many of you know, as you saw in David Turco's presentation, I was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy at 4 months old. And through the 13 years of living with it, it got progressively worse. And this led me to needing mitral valve surgery. The doctors attempted to fix the heart I had at that time. And this was unsuccessful. And the heart was failing at a faster rate now, and a heart transplant was required.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I've just instructed the class that after an organ transplant, the patient must take medication and have checkups for the rest of their lives. What medication are you on?
Exactly. So the medication I'm on right now is obviously the anti-rejection medication. So the body does not reject the heart. I'm also on some cholesterol medication because growth in cholesterol is also a side effect of a heart transplant. And I used to be on some blood pressure medication. The medication you're on post-transplant, like very close after transplant, is much more than what you are on after a couple years. So I'm decreasing every year.
Oh, okay. So now, I already mentioned how you go to these regular checkups, right? So what type of tests do you participate in when you go to these checkups? What do the doctors test you on?
Well, at these checkups, the doctors are obviously trying to see if the heart is still functioning fine within the body. So some tests I do usually are the biopsy, which is where a tube is inserted into your jugular vein in your neck and sent down to the heart, where small pieces are taken from the heart and then tested, and they're tested for rejection. And I'm also put through some bone density and kidney tests, because some of the anti-rejection medication can lower bone density and kidney function. And finally, I go through some echocardiograms, which is just like an ultrasound of the heart. And this is to see if all the valves and the walls of the heart are still functioning fine.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks so much for talking to us today. It really means a lot, and hopefully the class learned a little bit about what you went through. So we'll see you later. Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, if we go back in time and think about who completed the first organ transplant, well, that was Dr. Joseph Murray on December 23rd, 1954. What happened is a 23-year-old man was suffering from kidney failure. So Dr. Murray didn't have much time to think, so he decided that he would perform an organ transplant, a kidney transplant on the man. So he received the kidney and hoped for the best, and what do you know, it was successful. So after the transplant, he received a Nobel Prize in medication. So now you know that the first ever organ transplant was completed in 1954 by Dr. Murray. Wow, you made it to the end of the video? Well, I'd just like to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned a little bit about organ transplants.
It's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping like a lion.